Pakistani farmer needs credit. A video by the Cavaliers. Before we begin, we'll try to get to the root of the issue here and get the logic of why the farmers sell below the support prices. The reason why many growers decide to pick the low prices of the open markets over high prices of the government is because when the government announces support prices, it uses discriminatory methods to qualify certain growers by putting some conditions. Firstly, the growers have to obtain jute bags called bardana, which are only available at government stores, and at critical times, these bags vanish and are sold on the black market. Even if these bags are available, they're not enough to cater the demand. So these farmers have to beg the inspectors to supply the bags or pay a commission to an agent to get these bags, which are otherwise free. Secondly, the farmers have to form a queue in front of the government stores and wait for days before they can sell their produce. Large growers are able to influence government inspectors and overtake small growers. This causes storage issues and a serious threat to the produce. Thirdly, the government inspector inspects the produce and has every right to reject it. In case he rejects it, the grower has to go back and is faced with additional transportation charges. Lastly, after all this process, even if the farmer is lucky enough to sell the produce, he has to wait for a few good weeks before he can get paid. That is why, if a farmer is given the option to either sell the produce to the government or a middleman, even though the government pays higher price for the produce, he opts to sell the produce to the middleman.
Now, moving on to our next topic under consideration, free markets for agriculture produce. Before the farmer can sell his produce to the customers, the produce has to first go through a series of steps. The produce is sold by the farmer to the trader, also known as a Vyapari, who then sells that produce to a commission agent called an Arthi. This commission agent sells that produce to a wholesaler who then sells it to a retailer, and the customer buys that produce from that retailer. Now, the problem with this market structure is that the trader or the Vyapari is kind of a small landowner. The farmer is resigned to sell his whole crop to this trader. This trader then sells this crop to the commission agent, also called the Athi, and this commission agent takes a commission of either 5% or 8% on the produce sold to him. If we remove these two, the Vyapari and the Arthi, we get a market structure that is more in unison with the needs of both the farmer and the customer. With this market structure, both the farmer and customer get what they want. The farmer gets a higher price for his produce, and the customer gets a lower price for what he buys. Moving on, let's talk about wheat support pricing or bad economics. Increasing price of wheat every year, the ruling elite tries to consolidate its rural vote bank, thinking that all rural people would benefit. However, 85% farmers don't produce marketable surplus, thus they are not the beneficiaries of a regular increase. The government increases wheat support prices due to the increase in cost of production. However, the reason why the cost of production is increased is because of government policies in the increase of electricity bills, fertilizer charges, and diesel rates. In doing so, the government has created a vicious cycle for itself, where it increases prices of inputs to meet its own running expenditures. Then it increases wheat prices to compensate farmers. On the third plank, it procures wheat to stabilize market. Finally, it ends up subsidizing flour for the urban population. One wonders where this process would stop. Now let's talk about the sources of credit. Now there are basically two types of farmers. One are large farmers and small farmers. The priority of large farmers for investment is either for mechanization or for increasing their productivity. These farmers go to formal sources of credit such as Zarai Taraqqiyati Bank Limited for gaining their credit. And according to a recent survey, 94% of farmers, for large farmers, obtained their credit from Zarai Taraqqiyati Bank Limited. On the other hand, small growers whose main requirements are for either fertilizer, seed, or for household consumptions do not have the luxury to go to formal sources of credits or refrain from doing so. These small farmers go to informal sources of credits, and in a survey conducted in 1972 to 73 stated that 90% of small farmers obtained their credit from such sources, and in 1985 68% of the farmers obtained their credit from informal sources. The problem with informal sources of credit is that they charge an illegal rate of returns, because of which the farmers have to bear the burden of high prices. Credit plays an important role in agricultural productivity and output. Rural credit reaches few rural houses, and institutional sources provide credit to only a small portion of rural households. The main sources of institutional credit are: 76% of this credit is obtained from ZTBL, 17% from other commercial banks, and 6% from cooperative societies. 90% households take loan from informal sources, out of which 67% people take loans from either friends or relatives, and 11% take loans from landlords. The federal government needs to consider two options: controlling input prices instead of increasing support, and leaving price fixation to provinces. Instead of increasing support price and increasing administrative and corruption charges, the federal government should adopt fiscal and taxation policies that bring input prices down. This would benefit small farmers in equal measures and add to their productivity. Secondly, the federation should now leave the prices of agricultural commodities, wheat included, to provinces which now own the sector.
This concludes our topic today. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and thank you for watching this video.